There are moments in the long, confusing history of transport when someone, somewhere, wakes up and says, I shall now build a vehicle that makes no sense. Usually that person is British, and usually the resulting machine is so preposterous and so laughably bizarre that it ends up being loved, not despite its flaws, but because of them. And that brings us to the Scott Sociable. It's got 3 wheels. It looks like it was designed by a man who only had access to blueprints from different machines, and it drives like a tipsy wheelbarrow on cobblestones. And yet, somehow, it still exists. And this wasn't just some backyard contraption either. This was the brainchild of Alfred Scott, the man who helped put the word motor in motorcycle, built war machines for king and country, and then decided at the end of it all that what the people really needed was a 3-wheeled pseudo-car that looked like it had fallen off a lorry, transporting experimental war prototypes. But to appreciate just how mental the Scott Sociable really was, you have to go back to the First World War. You see, at that time, Alfred Scott wasn't just tinkering with motorcycles, he was building things with names like the motorized gun carriage, which, as you might imagine, was exactly what it said on the tin, a 3-wheeled sidecar-mounted, forward-leaning machine gun platform for mowing down Germans on the move. Think Mad Max, Downtown Abbey edition. The military gun tricycle thing he came up with in 1916 was an absolute Frankenstein's monster of a vehicle. It had a front wheel off to the side like someone had parked it badly at the factory, a sidecar aligned with the rear wheel so the gunner could take shots on the move, and get this, a .303 Vickers machine gun bolted to the side. Yes, it was that kind of craziness. A mechanized dead scooter with wheels, a steering wheel that looked like it was borrowed from a lawnmower, and a suspension made out of pure optimism. But, as you might expect, the War Office took one look at this off-center, vaguely homicidal 3-wheeled death scooter and said, thanks, but no thanks. And so, the Scott gun tricycle was mothballed before it could introduce the thing to drive-by shootings. But Scott wasn't deterred. No, he thought, you know what, let's make this thing for civilians. And so, the Sociable was born. You see, by 1921, the guns were gone, the soldiers were back in the pub, and Alfred Scott had decided the world needed what was essentially a sideways Morgan 3-wheeler with a personality disorder. The result was the Scott Sociable. And you have to see one to believe it. Imagine a bathtub made of bent steel tubing, with a roof like a deck chair thrown over the top and lights glued on wherever someone had free space. There's one wheel at the front, mounted on a strange, forked swing arm affair. 2 at the back. But here's the kicker. The front wheel is mounted not in the center, but way off to the right of the driver. As I said, this thing is weird. But this layout wasn't just for fun. No, it was left over from the military version, where the driver sat offset to the gunner, who could hang off to the side like a wartime hood ornament. In civilian trim, that translated to nothing. There was no gun, no sidecar-mounted soldier, just one bloke trying to get to the corner shop in something that looked like a rejected Chitty Chitty Bang Bang prototype. Now power came from a water-cooled 578cc V-twin 2-stroke engine. It was water-cooled in 1921. Yes, this thing was cutting edge for the era. It was paired with a 3-speed gearbox, which is a generous term for what was essentially a lever that you yanked about until something happened. Reverse gear? Well, it didn't have one. That would require a level of planning entirely absent from this project. You went forwards or you got out and pushed. And to make it even better, it drove the rear left wheel only because symmetry was apparently banned in South Yorkshire at the time. There were twin headlights, a third auxiliary lamp on the front wheel, and a small boot out back, large enough to store either a weekend's luggage or your dignity, depending on how far you made it before it broke down. Inside, or more accurately, On top of the thing, the seats were mounted directly to the frame. No cushioning, no springs, just you, your spine, and a level of vibration that should have come with a medical disclaimer. The controls were inventive. There were pedals, sort of, levers, and dials too, but placed in such haphazard positions, you'd think the dashboard was designed by a blindfolded chimp. The whole thing was built around a triangulated frame of bolted tube steel, which astonishingly was actually quite advanced. It handled decently. On to the braking, that was theoretical. Each wheel got its own drum brake, but they were operated independently. That's right, you had to brake each side manually. A panic stop meant choosing which direction to angle your doom. And don't think that the British public didn't notice. Between 1921 and 1924, Scott managed to sell a measly 200 units. That is, 200 people who looked at it and said, yes, this is the machine that shall carry me forth into the modern era. But the saddest part of it all is how it ended. Alfred Scott, proud of his invention, went caving one day. He came back, soaked to the bone, and rather than change his clothes, he drove home in his Sociable, open-top, exposed, and very British. He caught pneumonia, and unfortunately, he died. After his passing, Scott motorcycles did soldier on though. They built the Squirrel and later the Flying Squirrel. Excellent bikes, both far more sensible. But the Sociable, that was it. A strange little wart on the bottom of Britain's long motoring legacy. An experiment in asymmetry, charm, and stubborn Yorkshire engineering. The Scott Sociable is not a car. It's not a motorcycle either. It's not even really a trike. It's something else entirely. Something that could only have come from post-war Britain. It was never going to change the world. It was never going to win awards. But the Scott Sociable did something far more important. It made people smile, and then it made them swear, and then probably made them push it home. But in a world now filled with sterile electric crossovers and fake engine sounds, I take this Sociable any day. Because it was weird, because it was brave, because it was absolutely spectacularly mad. And in the end, isn't that what motoring is supposed to be? But yeah, at the end of this video, please let me know what you guys thought of the video and what do you guys think of this really weird car. With that layout, I think corners were interesting. I don't know how this thing didn't tip over like a lot, but I mean it worked apparently. So yes, let me know what you guys think of this car. Let me know what you guys thought of the video. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please have a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys did like this video, you'll most probably enjoy most of my other stuff. So just go through my channel, see if there's someone else like. I'll check you guys in the next one. Cheers, eh?